and welcome to Match Day Live. You can see the players, they are arriving. Down on the south coast, we take on Bournemouth today. And who can forget that incredible performance by Jeremy Doku in the reverse fixture at the Etihad just a few months ago. So we are, of course, looking to once again close the gap to just 1 point at the top of the league. The players are arriving. I'll give you the team news the second that I am legally allowed to. But I'll get myself in trouble, shall I, and let you all know that Phil Foden starts today. So you can breathe a sigh of relief. Phil Foden is definitely in the starting 11 today, and I'll give you the rest of the team news as soon as I am allowed. But you can see the players arriving now. There is Jeremy Doku after his incredible performance against Bournemouth in the home game. King Kev and Scott Carson, everybody is there. And there's the big man with his headphones on. There is Erling Haaland, and I will let you know in just a second if he is going to be in the starting 11 today. Manuel Akanji is there, and Jack Grealish, he's fit. Welcome to Match Day Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Natalie Pike, and I am so thrilled, always happy to be here with you. In the studio, I'm joined by Steve Howie and by Keith Curl. Welcome. Lovely to see you both. How are you, Keith?
Very well, thank you. Very well. It seems like it's been ages.
I know, we have not seen you in a while. You've been busy?
Decorating houses.
Okay.
No, not too busy.
Well, very glad that you're back today. How are you, Steve?
Very good. Again, same as Keith. It seems a while since I've been here, so looking forward to today.
Well, thank you very much for both being here today, and thank you all for joining us on Match Day Live. I am allowed, so let's give you the starting 11 for today's 5:30 p.m. kickoff against Bournemouth. So there's your team. Edison in goal, and it is Akanji, Stones, captain Ruben Diaz, Ake, Rodri, Nunes, Kovacic, Silva, Foden and Erling Haaland. So that is your starting 11. On the subs bench, it's Ortega, Walker, Grealish, Doku, De Bruyne, Alvarez, Bob and Lewis. That is your subs bench and your starting 11 as City take on Bournemouth. As soon as I read that bench out, by the way, crikey, Grealish, Doku and De Bruyne, it's like the best ever attacking bench. That's absolutely insane. In terms of that starting 11, Keith, a little bit surprised there?
Yes and no, but I think when you have a look at what they've got on the subs bench, there's enough there to change a game if it's not going to plan. And I think that will probably be very similar to Bournemouth's mentality as well, as in, yeah, they've got to have a plan A, but then if City score 2-3 goals, what's their plan B?
Hopefully there's no plan B, Keith. None. Roll over. Steve, what do you make instantly of that starting 11?
Still a very good starting 11. Still a starting 11 that the Bournemouth players will be looking at and thinking, wow, you know, we've got to be top of our game today. And of course the players know. I mean, as ex-players, you know yourself, when you're playing against these top teams, you could be doing okay, and now all of a sudden you look across the bench and you see the sign going up and another top world-class player coming on, you're thinking, oh, dear me. And you've just sort of said there, with that bench, I mean, it is a ridiculous bench, let's be honest. But obviously the starting 11 is a team that you would have thought could get the job done, but it'll be a difficult game.
If we start looking at the backs, we're playing Akanji, Stones, Diaz and Ake. Great news that John Stones starts again. I mean, Keith, that is 5 starts in 7 games now for John Stones. He's been such a pivotal part of this team over the last few years. To have him fit and starting now, it is just brilliant for us.
Yeah, and I think that's important for this stage of the season, and it's like getting the right amount of game time. That's why it's probably no surprise that Kevin De Bruyne has missed the last couple of games as well. Or not started in the last couple of games, and again, that's good management. As in, if you're still getting results and you're still being able to not so much rest, but limit the game time that your quality players are going to be needed for the run-in now. Excellent. Probably Haaland's probably a different animal to Kevin De Bruyne, as in, he needs to be on the pitch. He needs to be playing for 90 minutes. I think I wouldn't like to be the one that tells him that he's not playing and he's going to be rested. You have a look at him. He doesn't need rest, does he? He needs to be playing.
Is that 10 years age difference, do you think, or slightly more, the difference? He just wants to kick a ball non-stop.
Again, he's a goal scorer, and they want to be on the pitch. And I think you want that from your striker as well, because he knows the team that he's playing in, he knows that he's going to get chances, and he's going to get goals, and he's got that mentality. He wants to score, which difficult to rest goal scorers.
I'm very glad he doesn't need much rest, Keith. In terms of that defence, so Kyle Walker's on the bench today, Steve. Obviously, Kyle Walker has been prominent in this team throughout the whole season. So when he's on the subs bench and we're doing a Akanji, Stones, Diaz and Ake, what tactically is the difference there? Or do you think it is, are we sort of resting Kyle?
I think probably a little bit of a rest, because as you said, I think he's been pretty much ever present. Obviously, he has got that pace, the electric pace, which he still has, incredibly.
Do you think he's getting quicker?
He's certainly not getting any slower, is he?
The older he's getting, he seems to be getting quicker and quicker.
But yeah, he is obviously a top defender. But when you've got a back four like that as well, of course, we'll pretty much see, I'm pretty sure that we'll see Stones stepping into that kind of midfield role as he does, which he does fantastically well. But yeah, I mean, the manager's blessed really with the players that he's got on the bench. Of course, he can change it at any time. But I think when you have got that quality of squad, if you've got a player that's just maybe not quite sort of going to be 100%, you can just give him a day off type thing. You know, if he needs him, he's always there. But if he doesn't, I don't think you'd put him on.
So in terms of the midfield again, so yeah, a few changes in the midfield as well. So obviously Rodri, we know where that man will be. Núñez and Kovacic, and then looking sort of more attacking, Bernardo and Foden. When I sort of look at that midfield, Keith, it feels a little bit more controlled, perhaps. What kind of tactically, what do you think the decisions are there today? Well,
I think Kovacic is going to sit, and I think he's in his game times. I don't think he started in the last 6 or 7 games, has he? So, and I think Núñez, I think he's in his debut season now, getting used to what's needed, what's required. But he is a runner, and he will break lines, and he will get forward every opportunity. And again, I think Kovacic, and with Stone stepping in, so that's countering the counter attack, and then you've got Foden and Silva, licensed to go and make things happen.
Countering the counter-attack, I like that. So the idea that Stones can move forward and that Núñez will be sitting there anyway. Well, and then we've got Rodri as well. So countering the counter-attack, yes, I like that.
Well, a lot of teams are going to sit in against City, and they get men behind the ball, and then they're playing for the counter-attack. So if you counter that counter-attack and you have the right people in the right places, have that one eye on the back door all the time, even though you've got good possession of the ball. If it breaks down, you've got to have players in the right position.
And then we've got the attackers, obviously the speed of Bernardo and Foden. Do you have a preference for where you like them? Because obviously both of them can go out, but we have a lot of discussions about how good they are when they're sitting in the middle as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the manager was, obviously there's some structure there, but ultimately it's go where you think you can do the most damage. I watched Bournemouth against Newcastle last week, and I think it'll be pretty much the same. I think they'll sit back and do what Brentford done during the week, and then try and catch City on the counter-attack, which they tried to do against Newcastle. To be fair to them, they did it quite well. Probably was unfortunate not to win the game. But I mean, just watching Phil Foden there, I mean, it was... Man City are a top team. It's as simple as that. And I think, you know, when you've got the amount of possession that City have, and they keep on knocking on the door, knocking on the door, me and Keith will tell you, as a defender, just trying to concentrate all the time and not being able to switch off is so difficult to do. And of course, when somebody does switch off, they'll punish you.
Yeah, and Phil Foden in that game against Brentford punished them 3 times. So that was our last away game. Our last away game, his last away game, the hat-trick in the Premier League there, Keith. I mean, it was a phenomenal performance from him, and hopefully we can get something similar today. Yeah,
I think the argument will always go on is like Phil's best position. I think he's had his personal preference of where he likes to play, but to be in this team, you'd play anywhere, wouldn't you? And again, he's effective. He can open doors. He's a type of player that, in the blink of an eye, he will see something. He can go and exploit space, and he's got fantastic ball mastery. You have a look at him. He's one of those players that you think he must have been, from a very young age, he must have had a football at his feet, because his technique is excellent.
Yeah, from what you hear, he just seems to have a football at his feet all the time, 24 hours a day still at this age. We mentioned Haaland a minute ago. The record breaker continues to break records, Steve. It feels like every game he plays, he's breaking some other record. So in the game midweek when he scored, he became he's now scored against every Premier League team that he has played against. So 21 teams, scored against all 21 of them. It's only his second season in the Premier League. I mean, he just continues to smash records despite any perhaps negative comments that people are saying about him at the minute, which is ridiculous.
It is. I was just going to say that. I mean, you know, you listen to the radio in the car and stuff like that, or you watch TV, and people sort of saying different things about him. I find it absolutely laughable, to be quite honest. I mean, he will be an absolute nightmare to play against. People don't seem to realise what he does off the ball. You see his runs. You see how he... I had a close look at him one of the games, and you'll see a defender kind of pulling him, but you don't realise that he's actually pulled the defender first. And we know playing against an aggressive centre forward like that, they're very, very difficult. They're sneaky, but at the same time, you cannot switch off for 1 second, because whilst I felt as though he had a solid game on Tuesday, he had that one chance, and yes, it was a slip. And he goes one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and to be fair to him, he hits it earlier than what I think he should, but he knows better, and of course he beat the goalkeeper comfortably. It's a great finish in the end.
Yeah, and it was a great Erling Haaland finish. Obviously, in the Chelsea game, there'd been a few chances that he'd perhaps missed, and people sort of jumped on that. But I just feel like he just set such an impossibly high standard last season with the amount of goals that he scored that he can't be expected to continue that form every season. Or do you think that he could?
Well, I mean, if you look at his reaction after the game, he was clearly disappointed, because I think there's one chance in particular. I think Kevin De Bruyne put a ball in, and it's the header. You put that ball in 100 times, he scores 99 times. And it was just one of them games where it just didn't happen for him. You know, and you get them games. And as you said, because he's set himself that standard, everybody expects every single chance he gets, he's going to score. That's not going to happen. You know, he's human at the end of the day. And as I said, he was obviously angry with himself. You've seen him kind of push the camera away as well. But I'd be more worried, and I think City fans would be more worried, if he's not in those positions to actually miss those chances. But he keeps on getting in, and 9 times out of 10, he'll score them.
You're right. Every time the ball is past him, he has the ball. There is like an expectation that no matter where he is, he will find a way to contort himself to score in some way.
Oh, we've seen him a couple of times, and he must jump off the air. He must be 6 foot at least off the floor, and his legs right up in the air as well. I mean, if I did that, I'd be in hospital for a fortnight or something like that.
Don't try, Steve, please.
I'd start pulling my hamstring, tear my hip out. But he's I mean, as I said, I just think, for me, he's a complete striker. He's somebody that we would like to play against him, because in all fairness, you're testing yourself against the best. But I still think it will be a difficult afternoon.
Yes. Hopefully very much. I want to have a quick word as well. He's on the bench today, but in the Brentford game, Oscar Bobb had his first full start for City. It was absolutely phenomenal to see him starting. What did you make of his performance? He's on the bench today. What would he give us if he came on?
Again, I think this is down to Pep's management as well, picking the right time for the introduction for him earning his starting place in the team. The lad's going to be a very good player. He's a good player now, but so his career is going to be progressive, and so maintaining that level of performance week in, week out, getting a start that's the next step for him. And it's one of those, as a manager, it's great management, because you're keeping them hungry. And probably my biggest criticism about young players is they can be too impatient at times, and if they don't get what they want when they want it, they sulk. And but you can write that Pep's management. It's all about timing for the lad and being progressive in his career, and then that leads on to his professional development.
Yeah, I completely agree. Pep seems to be so unbelievably great at bringing those young players through at the right time, giving them the opportunities. And of course, another young player that's come not through this year, of course, he was bought in the summer, is Jeremy Doku. He's on the bench again. I think I forget how young he is. I want to talk, though, about the incredible performance that he had in the reverse fixture when we played Bournemouth at home back in November. He had, I'm going to say, and I want your professional opinions on it, the single game performance of the season for me. Like, in this one game, I think his performance was better than anything I've seen all season.
Yeah, he basically ran the show. And I think, you know, as players, you recognise when somebody's on it. So what you do is you give them the ball as much as you possibly can. And I think that's what the lads did for him that day. He absolutely terrorised the defence. A great goal that he scored. And of course, as I said, they were just thinking, right, this is a performance. This could be an unbelievable performance for him. Give him the ball, and he absolutely tore them up. I mean, the rest of the boys must have been thinking, wow. I mean, even this goal, the poor lads. I mean, I think you kind of had to unscrew him initially, but. You know, he's kind of looking round the defender as like for a little bit of help, but you can see some of the defenders thinking, I'm not going to go across there. But he's inside, he's outside. He basically did have pretty much one of the best performances individually from a player that I've seen in a long, long time.
He's one of the names that the Bournemouth players would have been looking for on the team sheet and everything, and I'm glad he's not playing with the impact he had in that game.
I love that idea that you get a sense when somebody's on it. Did you feel that when you were playing, like when one of your players was, you knew that it was a special day for them?
It's usually when they get probably with the forward players, you know if one of your wide players has got the full back on toast, and it's one of those give it to him. Then whether that's because his asset is going to be part of the opposite. Like if you've got a quick winger and he's playing against somebody that's not the most mobile, so one give him the ball in because he's got this lad on toast and he's going to have it all day long. So yeah, you do sense it, but a lot of it is tactically, and you pick that up before the game as part of your game plan as well, identifying where the weaknesses is in the opposition, and you've got to exploit it.
For the goal that he scored that came there off the back of Akanji, would you have claimed that, Steve? Are you giving that him?
What, Akanji or Doku?
Akanji, if that was you.
100%, yeah. I'd have sort of said I'd meant to do that. I meant to put me back in. I think if you get a goal, you're going to claim it, because if you look at the shot, it's actually going wide, and it hits him. But I'm sure Akanji will claim that one. I think he must have gotten it.
Did he get? I think that went to Doku, did it?
Really? Well, I think if you have a shot.
Oh no, that was Akanji. No, it was Akanji. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'd have definitely claimed it. You would have as well, wouldn't you?
100%.
They all count, don't they?
Yes, they
They
do.
all count. He's adapted so quickly to this team. Obviously, we hear a lot in a Pep team about sometimes how it can take people a little bit of a while to adapt, and we've seen that ourselves. He seems to have adapted so quickly to this team and to Pep and to everything that's going on here.
Yeah, because I think that his understanding of the structure and what his importance is of his role in the team, which is basically like being out wide, being available, and when you get the ball, take your man on, and either take him on and beat him, or attract another player because then there's a weakness somewhere else in the team. Like, that's got to be music to his ears. So it's not a difficult position for him to come in and play and say, like, get the ball, be an attacking threat. Excellent, I can do that all day long, boss.
I'm really excited to see as well when he spends a bit more time with Pep and the coaching staff, how he's going to develop. Because again, we've seen it with so many of the players that have come and spent time under Pep and how he has developed their game. What would you like to see from him going forward, do you think, Steve? What areas of his game do you think Pep could help him improve? I
think probably his final ball could be one of them. Whilst I think his final ball is good, could it be better? Yeah, I mean, but this has been, super critical. And I think he'd probably think that, can he score more goals? Because there was a few times I've seen him and he gets himself in really good positions. With him being out wide, there's a few times I've seen him cut inside on his right foot and try and find that far corner. Sometimes he has and sometimes he hasn't. But I think if he was to be a little bit more clinical, as a defender, it's very, very difficult because he can go down the left-hand side. He can go inside as well on the right-hand side. Defenders, you're thinking, well, which way do I show him type thing? And if you're not getting any communication from your other defenders, he's an absolute handful. But I think they would be the two. I mean, as I said, this is me being very, very kind of critical because I think he's been brilliant since he's come. But yeah, if you can work on that, then wow, what a player you've got in your hands. Cannot wait to see what's going to happen to him. Jeremy Docker, he is on the bench today. 5:30 kick-off PM today, Premier League against Bournemouth. And as always, if you would like to ask our guests any sort of question, you're very welcome to do so. Use that WhatsApp number that is on your screen right now. And I will get through as many questions as I can. Obviously, busy period coming up. So feel free to look ahead and to get their opinions on whatever you would like to know. So we know the City starting 11 for today. Let's have a look at our opponents now. Let's find out the Bournemouth starting 11. So a beautiful sunny day down there on the south coast. So you can see in goal, that is Neto, who is the captain. Smith, Zabani, Senesi, Kirkez, Cook, Christie, Semenyo, Kluivert, Tavernier and Dominic Solanke.
You can see the subs on the screen as well. It does look like a beautiful early spring day down there in Bournemouth. They've got the sprinklers on and everything. So that is the Bournemouth starting 11. I know for me, when I look at that team, my eyes instantly go to the attack, Keith, because obviously Dominic Solanke is having a phenomenal scoring season. I think he's third Premier League top scorer behind Salah and obviously Erling. I've had him in my fantasy football team. I much appreciate the points he's been giving me, but he's having a brilliant season.
Yeah, he is playing a team that at the minute they're not having the best of times in the league. And again, I picked up on something that the manager said, that he felt he let his players down with his team selection the last time City and Bournemouth met, because he played an extra defender in there, and he thinks that affected the players' mindset about playing deep and not being as competitive as what he wanted them to be. So again, we'll see a shift in that, which is can be a dangerous tactic when you think about, well, we're at home and we're going to... He mentioned as well, he wants the atmosphere in the stadium to be more competitive, with the supporters being in contact with the players, which means that he wants to see his team getting about City, which is excellent, but that can backfire on you as well, because if you go and put a high press on against the quality that City have got, it can be a dangerous game to play.
Yeah, I read that when I was reading ahead of the game, that it's the only time this season that Bournemouth have played with 5 at the back was when they played us at home, which obviously we ended up scoring 6 goals in. So it was a tactically wrong decision for him, as he said. But why do you think he did that? Given the fact that, like you say, they usually play with such a high press, they usually play with such a quick counter, which we know sometimes can be our downfall.
It's difficult because I look at it as putting a manager's or coach's hat on and think, like, what formation would I play against City? And you can only say you're going to have to try and nullify them, which means you've got to get men behind the ball, stay in their slots and try and catch them on the break. But then that can have a detriment if you've got a playing style or a playing style within your squad that is attacking. So then you have to go for yourself. You have to look at yourself and say, you come off the pitch, right, we've had a good go at them today. We've caused them a few problems. Like, where are you going to cause City problems? Wide areas? Through the middle? No, I don't think so, because they've got people in their counter attack. So you've got to go down the sides of them. So you need pace in wide areas.
It'll be interesting to see how they play, how they differ, what sort of different side we see from them from the side in November. Because, of course, in November as well, Steve, they were going through a really bright patch. Been really bright patch up until Christmas. Really kind of unexpected, really doing well, sitting in the mid-table. I think everybody's kind of started to feel like Bournemouth are a really solid Premier League team. And then in the last 6 or 7 games, they've gone through a bit of a difficult patch as well. How would you kind of assess their season so far?
I think they'll be relatively happy with it. As I said, I watched them last week against Newcastle. I thought they did really well. I thought Newcastle were fortunate, really, to get a 2-2 draw. They did sit back against Newcastle and try to catch them on the counter. Now, will they do the same today against City? I'm not too sure, because they are at home, let's be honest. So are you going to put 5 at the back? Are you going to sit back and soak up the pressure and try and counter-attack Manchester City? Because when they did counter-attack Newcastle, they caused them all kinds of problems. But it'll be interesting to see how they do set up. But I think ultimately this season, I mean, I don't think they're in any danger of getting relegated, so the pressure is off them. I mean, so the players can come out today and trying to really enjoy it. But that all depends on how they start. And I think if City can get a nice early goal, then I think that opens the game up, because then they have to come forward a little bit more. Whereas if it's still 0-0, they'll be thinking, right, we're fine, we're relatively comfortable, and can we catch City on the counter? But as I said, if City can score early doors, it has to really push them out. So that leaves the game a little bit more open.
In terms of the manager, Keith, with your kind of manager head on, I think it's been a really fascinating journey for him. Obviously, there was a bit of shock that went throughout the football world when Gary O'Neill did so well last season and then left in the summer. Yeah. They brought in Areola, and I think it's taken everybody by surprise a little bit about how well he's done and how he seems to have settled in and how we're starting to see his real style. There was a lot of pressure on him when he went in, and he seems to have handled it really well.
Yeah, definitely. I think they had an average, okay-ish start. Then they had a bit of a dip. Then they got beat by City 6-1, and then I think they went on. I think they won the next 4 or 5 games. Now they come to a period of time where they've won, lost. Then I think they haven't won in 6 games now, and then take City out of the equation today, then I think that the next 4 or 5 games, they've got an opportunity that against teams that I think they can win the next 4 or 5 games again. And then, like Steve said, that will be a good season for them. Difficult for the manager coming in, new league. The tempo of the Premier League is completely different to any other league as well. The ability level and the skill level and the tactical awareness of the coaches that you're playing against. This is like the top league in the world.
In terms of individual players, I mentioned Dominic Solanke before. That is 14 goals in 24 games in the Premier League this season. He's close to being Bournemouth's having the most goals ever they've scored in the Premier League. That was Josh King in 16-17 who got 16. Other standout players for you in their team who should we be looking out for?
I think Semedo's a threat. He was when I watched them last week. I mean, Tavernier, we know what he can do. I think when you've got Christie in midfield, he's the one, he's the antagonistic player. He's the one that will kind of, let's say, leave the foot in a little bit. And I think he's the kind of player that'll... Yeah. He's the one that the manager's kind of sending out, like, try and rattle them. You know, look at the little dark arts of the game and stuff like that. But as I said, they've got a threat. The main one, obviously, is Solanke. As you said, he's having a fantastic season. I don't think he'll be there next season. I think he'll go somewhere. I think West Ham was touted, but... They will pose a threat, and I think they'll give it the best shot. But as Keith had sort of said, they'll be looking at this and thinking, if we can get anything out of it, that's brilliant. But really, we are looking at the next 4 or 5 games against the opponents that we have.
Say that it's been a really interesting journey. I've enjoyed seeing what Bournemouth have done since they've come back to the Premier League. But of course, it's been a really interesting journey for Bournemouth for the last 14 years, really. Of course, you go back to 09-010, they were in the 4th tier of English football. The way they've risen up into the Premier League and become Premier League regulars, so 7 of the last 9 seasons they've been in the Premier League. Obviously, they stayed up well last year. They're looking like a good mid-table Premier League club now. Do you think other clubs that are kind of maybe in the League One, Championship clubs are taking, I mean, looking at Bournemouth as taking aspiration from them?
Yeah, definitely. If you have a look at the stadium, the capacity, the attendance levels that they get, do you think, well, there's arguably, you say, bigger stature football clubs outside of the Championship even. So again, no, the journey that they've been on, phenomenal. I remember managing against them early on in my career. Looking back on it now, you have a look at the journey that Eddie Howe's had and where I am, you think, well, something must have gone wrong. All right for him.
Because you were Notts County manager. When you played against Bournemouth in 11-12. Was Eddie Howe there then?
Yeah. I think that was his second spell. At half time, I think we were 2-0 up, and I'm thinking, like, we've got these on toast. Then, like 10 minutes ago, we're 3-2 down, and we managed to get a draw out of the game. But I think probably what impressed me most about it, like even at 2-0 down, his demeanour didn't change. Very calm, very calculated, very, very assured of himself on the side of the pitch. Not saying that I wasn't, but you think he didn't panic. Even then, they had a style and a way of playing.
What have you made of Bournemouth's rise up the leagues?
Well, it's been amazing. I mean, it's like a fairy tale thing, really, as you just sort of said there. You know, in the 4th tier. I mean, and competing in the Premier League, when you look at the ground, I mean, it does have a good atmosphere in the ground, but what is it, 10, 11,000?
11,000.
I mean, it's not a lot at all, is it, really, when you look at all the other teams? So you think about kind of profit and sustainability, how can they afford to bring players in and stuff like that? Obviously, a club that's been very well run. I think obviously lucky as well with a manager of somebody like Eddie Howe. I think obviously he's proven how good of a manager he is. I think what he's done with Newcastle as well. You know, when they were in the predicament that they were, obviously they had some good players as well. I think you mentioned one, King. I think Wilson was there as well, 1 or 2 others that have gone on to different clubs. But certainly a club which try and play the right way as well. Entertaining football, they look to pass the ball, they look to play forward. I'm not too sure about that one today, but as I said, it'll be interesting how they're set up. But certainly a fairy tale sort of story. I mean, when you do look at that, it obviously gives other clubs in that position a lot of hope.
Yeah, and we've seen it with Luton as well. It seems like that's very similar this season. So 5:30 p.m. kick-off. You'll get your full commentary on the Manchester City app, as always, with the wonderful Alistair Mann, and he is joined today by Andy Morrison. And we're going to go over to them now and get their thoughts ahead of the game.
Thanks, Natalie. Yeah, welcome to the South Coast. Very spring-like day in Bournemouth today, and the reality is that it's the last Premier League game for City of February, and in about about 2 weeks' time, City will be at Anfield, of course got the Manchester derby before then as well. Alongside me, Andy Morrison, City captain one day. The reality is, Andy, that big March is looming large. So does it make this game at Bournemouth even more significant?
In a way it does, yeah. I mean, listen, Manchester City are expected to win every game they play in, and going to Bournemouth, at the start of the season, that's not one you'd worry about. But you look at the fixtures now leading into that, what's coming up, it's a massive, massive game. We've got to get it right.
And of course the March ends with Arsenal as well, so there's all sorts of intriguing fixtures for the Blues. Let's just talk about today and Bournemouth. They come to this off the back of a 2-2 draw at St James's Park. The reality is that they kind of dipped in their form after having a surge. What have you seen that we should worry about today?
Well, I thought they were very good last week against Newcastle. They should have been 2-0 up. Solanke's had two fantastic chances to put them ahead, and then they've gone into the final minute winning the game. So they'll be hugely disappointed but not coming away, with the full 3 points. But I look at their team, Ali, and I'm always respectful of the opposition. But for me, it's it's all about Manchester City, and if they're right, then they'll have too much for them.
Just a thought about the City lineup today. Julian Alvarez not involved, not in the starting 11 for the first time this season in the Premier League, and indeed it looks as though Matheus Nunes will probably be in that kind of position that has been vacated. No Kevin De Bruyne as well. He's got that little niggle in the hamstring. So how do you see City lining up today in terms of the attacking threat?
Well, I've tried to have a look at and work out which way they'll go. I think it's a given that Stones will step in, so they'll be the 2-6s alongside Rodri. Does Kovacic and Nunes become sort of 2-10s with Foden and Silva wide, Haaland through the middle? I'm not sure. Kovacic is a running 10 if he's in there. He is one that will go beyond and stretch, and it's. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure. Whichever way they go, I'm not sure.
The reality is that they've got a lot of game changers on the bench should they need them today, City, including Jeremy Doku, had that extraordinary match against Bournemouth earlier this season. Do you think because of the fact there are 2 games a week now, and that's kind of what we're expecting, that Pep Guardiola's been very careful about making sure that his game changers do get the rest that they need?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a slight change this year to in the past. I always thought that Pep's about winning this game, and if a player needs to be rested in the next one, but whatever he perceives to be his strongest 11 to get through this game, and I feel it's moved away a little bit from that this season. And maybe thinking slightly ahead of games that are coming up for this period, which is, like we said, it's a very, very tough period coming. So I'm listen, as the game goes on, if you're going to bring Doku and Kevin De Bruyne off the bench onto the pitch, it's going to be a major threat later on, especially when the game begins to open up a little bit. And Kevin's always got that bit of quality and that guile to cause problems.
What's your gut feeling telling you about what we're going to see this afternoon at Bournemouth?
Well, I think we'll dominate the possession. I think that's a given for Manchester City. For me, Bournemouth are. I don't know too much about it. It's unfamiliar. The back four doesn't look familiar to me. It's changed, and if they're going to come and press us, and they're going to leave themselves exposed. Haaland's the one that will stretch in behind, but they showed last week that, and I've seen that more and more this year, Ali, that any team on their day can cause another team in this Premier League a problem, because there's a definite improvement this year, I think, in the teams that we would say are slightly off the top 10. They're able to nullify the opposition.
We're just changing tack for the moment, because this was the winning goal scored by Jacob Wright earlier this afternoon in the quarter-final of the FA Youth Cup. The Blues were trailing by a 1-0, but made it 1-1, and then in pretty much the last attack of the match, a Jacob Wright free kick into the corner. And I hate to get ahead of myself here, but they've got a home tie in the semi-final. Should they win that, they're at home in the final. And the reality is that a lot of big teams have gone out. City must surely be the favourites now. Yeah, it's
huge at that part of their development. It's the key thing that they'll look for, and they'll always look back wherever they've been, and they'll talk about FA Youth Cup runs. And I saw Chelsea were knocked out in the week, and they're always very strong. They've, for many years now, they've had the strongest, junior groups, and it's a great opportunity. But I believe they're playing Bristol City, and Bristol City beat Burnley very comfy, won in the week again. So they're a very, very dangerous outfit. But what a fantastic opportunity for them to, because of the players that have ever won that will always talk about winning the FA Youth Cup.
Well, thanks for the moment. Myself and Andy will be on commentary duty for you about 5 minutes before kick-off when Natalie wraps up in the studio. But let's get back there now and join everybody in the studio.
Thank you so much there to Alistair Mann and to Andy Morrison. Your commentary team, 5:30 kick-off. Get them free on the Manchester City app. As always, the best place to get your commentary. And we were hearing them chat there about the FA Youth Cup. Big congratulations to City's under-18s. You're through to the semi-final of that. What a free kick there by Jacob Wright as well. And I instantly asked both of our guests in the studio, I asked Steve Howie and Keith Curl, if they had played in the FA Youth Cup, and you was like, of course you have. Oh, we're seeing the free kick again, just before I ask you about that. That's a stunning free kick, right, Steve?
Absolutely, yeah. Great control. Sometimes you'd be thinking, can the wall do better? Can the goalkeeper do better? But he's bent it around the wall and leaves the goalkeeper absolutely no chance. I think it actually hits the side netting, the inside of the side netting. The goalkeeper's on that side, but he hits it with such pace and ferocity. It's past him before he dives.
No draft excluder's going to help them there, is it, Keith? You like that finish?
Yeah, great finish. Something I practiced as a youngster myself.
When you played in the FA Youth Cup?
Yeah, something like 44 years ago. I can still remember it now. No, I can't.
No. You played in it as well, Steve?
I did, yeah. I remember it quite vividly, really. You're playing against teams all around the country rather than just your area. I remember playing against Arsenal. I think Andy Cole was playing for Arsenal. Playing against Liverpool. I think Steve McManaman was playing for Liverpool. And we played at Main Road. I was a centre-forward then. I think Steve Lomas might have been in the team. Or, did I say Steve Lomas?
Yeah.
I think he might have been in the team. And Jerry Taggart. I actually played against Jerry Taggart. But Jerry Taggart was the size then, at like 17, 18 as it was a grown man. So I had absolutely no chance. And I remember rightly in that game, City were just so good, so strong. And it's weird that you never think at that particular time when you're playing at Main Road that in a few years' time I'd actually that would be my home ground.
So it was an important competition in terms of your development,
yeah,
do you think?
Absolutely. You're playing against, really good players. Obviously, you're pretty much the same age. It's not like it is kind of now with the 23s or whatever it is, or the development. I think it's absolutely brilliant for young kids. As I said, you get to play, I'm not sure now, but you got to play at the main ground, which is a great experience.
Congratulations, City under-18s who have made the semi-final of the FA Youth Cup today. Now, before the show, we gave you the first clue for our mystery blues. So, I'm going to give you that again and then give you clue number 2. If you think you know the answer, do pop it in. The number is on your screen. So, first clue you've already had. This player featured for both City and Bournemouth. So, there's a few that jumped to mind for me right then. One of them's playing today. But it's not him, because this defender captained City from 2003. Do you know who today's mystery blue is? The number is on your screen. Pop an answer over. Don't say it. Do you know it, Keith? Do you think? No, Steve?
I must have played with him if it was 2003.
I'm pretty sure you did, because I think I know who it is. Yeah.
I'm useless at this.
Steve probably played with him and isn't sure. You probably didn't play with him, but if you know who it is, do message us in. We'll give you clue number 3 a little bit later on, and of course then we'll reveal it at half-time or indeed full-time as well and let you know who today's mystery blue is. So, 5:30pm kick-off for us today. There is other Premier League games that have taken place today that have now finished. Not too many of them affect us. Arsenal are playing later. Of course, Liverpool are in the Cup tomorrow, so they don't have a league game this weekend. But out of interest, you may be interested to know that Fulham scored a 99th minute winner against Manchester United at Old Trafford.
Oh.
Of course, that doesn't really affect us. So looking at the top of the table, we're going to have a little chat about that now, because it is becoming a really exciting year in the Premier League. It appears to be this year that we're looking at a 3-horse race. Of course, over the last few years, it's been one team that really has been challenging us, whether that's been Arsenal or Liverpool. But this year, they are both. So it's looking like a bit of a 3-horse race at the minute. So I thought we could have a quick little look at Arsenal and at Liverpool, the fixtures that they've got coming up as well. Just make sure we're all nice and fresh in all of our minds as we get really into this nice business part of the season. So, as I mentioned, Liverpool do not have a league game this weekend because they're in the Carabao Cup final tomorrow against Chelsea. So, as it stands in the table, they have played 26, points 60. They've got a 38 goal difference. I mean, goal difference really, I mean, we know how important that is. So we can see them there sitting top of the table. So they're 4 points ahead of us, a little bit of a better goal difference. But of course, we played today. It's a bit of a game in hand today for us, and then of course for Arsenal as well. So fixtures coming up for them, standout fixtures coming up. They've still got to play us, Everton, United, Spurs and Villa. So Steve, they still have some tricky games coming up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every one of those is a difficult one. They've got the Derby, they've got City themselves, then they've got, say, the United, Tottenham, Aston Villa. That'll not be easy. Aston Villa at Villa Park. I think, for me, Liverpool have kind of been just very businesslike. Not, at times not blowing teams out of the water, but just, being very, very sort of consistent in the results. That's why they are where they are. As I said, I think for me, it's the goal difference, which I'm a little bit surprised about when you look at Man City. And Arsenal as well. I mean, everybody would have thought Arsenal would peter off a little bit. But fair play to them, they're still thereabouts. So, as you said, it's one of those ones where I think for a neutral, it's brilliant. But for the fans involved, it's so nerve-wracking.
Yeah, for us, no neutrals around here. But yes, that of course was the goal that Liverpool scored against us at home. We've got to play them in a couple of weeks. I'm so excited for that game. We know it's Jurgen Klopp's last season. Of course, he made his big announcement. Do you think that's going to spur them, the fans and the players on, Keith?
Yes, while they're at the top. And I think that's if Liverpool win all their games from now to the end of the season, they win the league. But within that, like I said, they got some tough fixtures. And I think was it Luton they played last week and went behind, and, and you could tell there was a little bit of a wobble there, and you're thinking, but like business-like, they came through that fixture, not too bad. I think it's excellent for football that the top of the table is not decided now, and it's not just everybody chasing City. Do I still think now there's more to come from Man City? Yeah, I still think there's going to be the goal difference. I've not got a problem with. I think we'll have. I'll be surprised if we don't finish above Liverpool on the goal difference. That's catching. We've got to catch up 5-6 goals. I think we can do that.
Feels like Erling could do that himself in one game when his eyes back properly in. Okay, so Liverpool currently sit top of the table. We are in second, so 25 games played for us. Of course, today the game in hand, kind of, if you like, because they're not playing in the league this weekend. So we are on 56 points, the 32 goal difference. Some of our standout fixtures, of course, it's Manchester United next weekend at home. Then it's Liverpool away at Anfield. We've got Arsenal to come here as well. We've got Villa to come here as well, and then we've got to go to Spurs. I'm not scared about that now. Now we've won at Spurs. I'm good with that. 4 in a row is the target, Steve. 4 Premier Leagues in a row. It's never been done. There's a reason it's never been done. But when I look at it, I feel like if there is such a thing as a psychological advantage, then we have it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got players that's been there, seen it and done it. I mean, don't get me wrong, these are very difficult fixtures. But if you want to win the Premier League, you have to beat these teams. And for 3 years, that's what City have done. As I said, they've got players in that dressing room that's been there, seen it and done it. They know what it takes. I don't think you can get overexcited, for instance, when it was Chelsea and the 1-1. People sort of saying, that's it, that's Man City, they blew it, and I'm like, you need to relax. But you can see just how much it means to players as well. Erling Haaland, who scores for Foden, how much he enjoys scoring, how he celebrated that goal. It just means so much to the players. And as you said, to get 4 in a row will be, I don't think it'll ever get done again.
I'm glad you said again there, Steve. My heart went, you just said you don't think it'll ever get done. My heart sunk again.
No, I don't think, because the Premier League is so difficult, and I think we all know how difficult it is. But Can I see, as I said, can I see any team doing 4 if City do it? No, I can't, because it's just relentless. Top teams, Premier League teams now have got money to buy top players. So, wow, I mean, 4 in a row is something else.
Oh gosh, it really is. Whenever I think about it, you start to get a bit lightheaded because it would be absolutely insane. Of course, Liverpool are going to try and stop us. Arsenal are going to try and stop us too, Keith. So they are sitting in 3rd at the minute. They've also played 25. They play Newcastle later this evening. 55 points, 36 is their goal difference. They have some difficult games to come as well. They've got Chelsea at home, but they've got to come here. They've got Villa, they've got Spurs, and they've got Manchester United. So all of us have still got some seriously big games. In terms of Arsenal, do you think, Steve, that the fact, last year they were top of the league for so long, they crumbled just towards the end, will that make them stronger in this situation because they've been there?
Again, yeah, I think it definitely helps when you've been in that situation. You know how to cope with it. There's been a bit of criticism with Arsenal. They haven't got a main striker and stuff like that. They seem, to manage without that very well. I mean, the amount of goals that they've scored even recently. I think, was it 5 or 6 against West Ham, and then it was another 4 or 5 after that. I think Mikel Arteta would have learned a lot from last season as well. But again, you just look at that tough games, and these are the big games or the pick-out games. But in all fairness, all the other teams that are playing against, they're difficult opponents. And I think that any team can beat any team at any given point. It seems as though at this moment these 3 teams have been the most consistent. But it's going to be a great end of the season. As I said, nervy, but a brilliant watch.
Declan Rice has been a huge impact player for them since he signed in the summer. We talk about them maybe needing a striker, but I mean, just how important do you think Declan Rice has been to them this season?
I think he's given that stability, that professionalism, and I think he would have gone in there and raised standards as well. Just quickly touching on the Arsenal challenge. I think they beat FC Porto in the Champions League, and then it's about them managing the run into the end of the season, combined with reaching the last 16 of the Champions League for the first time in something like 14, 15 years as well. So I think that might be a bit of a distraction for them, and I think their focus may go on to that, which can help us win the league.
And also, it feels like perhaps the pressure is not fully on them this season because people are looking at Liverpool with it being Klopp's last season. They're looking at us with it being the 4 in a row. So maybe for Arsenal, could that go in their advantage that they go under the radar a little bit more? Yeah,
it could do that. Arsenal, they're under pressure to perform. They've got to finish in the top 2 or 3 because of the season they had last season when they were up there to be chased and they got caught. This season they've got a different mindset because they're in the chasing pack. And make no mistake, if results don't go for Liverpool and Man City, Arsenal are serious contenders.
A 3-horse race in the Premier League at this point. Crikey, can you believe it is March next week as well? What a March we have coming up. So thank you as always for sending in your WhatsApp questions. The number is on the screen. If you would still like to send one in, you're very, very welcome to do so. And as always, you've sent some crackers in. So, gents, a couple of questions. We've got one in from Duncan. Nathan Ake has played for both Bournemouth and City, of course. How much do you feel, Steve, he's developed at City since joining from the Cherries?
I think he's developed a hell of a lot. I thought he was, even though there's some standout candidates last season, I thought he was actually City's best player last season. So consistent, one-on-ones, very difficult to beat. He's got that pace. He popped up with a few vital goals as well. So I think his progression's been absolutely superb, and I think he's another player that can ridiculously get even better.
How do you think he's developed, Keith?
Again, I think probably the title that you give him is reliable, consistent, dependable. And I think as a defender, if your manager and your coaching staff have that against you, that's a definite plus. And again, doesn't make silly decisions. He's not rash in his defending. He's composed in his defending, but he's determined, aggressive enough. And like I say, he's better in the air than I thought in both boxes.
Great question. Love those answers. Thank you so much there, Duncan. OK, Paul has messaged in and he says, will Kovacic and Nunes feel like they have a point to prove today with no KDB starting? Is it an opportunity to prove themselves from kick-off?
Yeah, I think Nunes' first season, I think he's adapting to a style of play. I think at Wolves, from the times that I saw him at Wolves, he was a bit of a loose cannon, as in he would appear anywhere, but he could play. You have a standout game and you think he's absolutely phenomenal. and then you have another 2 or 3 games where you didn't really see him apart from in flashes. I think he's trying to bring a level of consistency into the style of play that Pep wants him to play. The lad's a great athlete, got good ability, he has got an eye for goal and can get forward, great energy. And I think just as a first season, he'd be quite happy that he's with the game time, probably like a little bit more. But as adjusting, his first season adjusting, I think he'd be quite happy. Kozovic, I think, probably came in, did very well. Then the last, I think it's, like I say, 6 or 7 games now since he's been in the starting lineup. So this is an opportunity for him coming into the back end of the season to stamp his authority on the game and be that player that can dictate play and get forward at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, the two of them are top players. I totally agree with Keith about, you know, when I watched him at Wolves, he was somebody that you'd be like, wow. And then you wouldn't hear of him for a couple of games. He would kind of disappear, and I think that will be infuriating for a manager. And again, I agree with Keith that Pep would be wanting consistency, but he'd be sort of saying, well, how do I get consistency when I'm not playing consistently? Which I think at this moment, with his being his first season, it is a case of just bringing him in and out, in and out, in and out. Kovacic, we all know, I mean, he's a world-class player. He hasn't got to prove a point to anybody. Obviously, they'd like more game time, but they're at a brilliant club with brilliant players, and you're not going to be playing week in, week out.
Another wonderful question. Thank you so much, Paul. I'm going to squeeze one more in. It's coming from Ed, and he says, if we had to choose a player, and I'm going to make you one player, apart from Rodri or Kevin De Bruyne, who in the City team do you think we couldn't do without, and why? OK, I like straight in. Yeah. Why?
He's just brilliant. I mean, I watched him. I was at the game on Tuesday, and whilst it was a difficult game against Brentford, he was just the one that you're thinking he's going to make something happen. He's just got that. I've seen him a good few times, and he's got this turn that he does when he can let the ball roll, because he's had a little look over his shoulder, and all of a sudden now he's in open space, and it'll commit the defenders against him, and all of a sudden now they're out the game. I just think he's got absolutely everything in his locker. And we're talking about players as well, about, you know, more game time and stuff like that. If you remember, when he first was breaking into the team, he was very in and out, and people were sort of saying, why is he not playing forward? And now he's one of the main men. You know, he plays all the time, and that's like brilliant management from Pep. But I'd go for him. So I'll be interested to see who you go for.
Well, I was going to say Foden.
You can, Keith. You can say Foden.
No, I'll go next after Foden. I'll say Silva, who I think is the manager's messenger. I think he understands the message that's how he wants the team to play, the tempo that he wants the team to play. And again, I like the way that he conducts himself. He loves the game. He loves the sport. I think he loves Pep as well, in a footballing sense, that is. But again, I think he's the manager's messenger as well, because he's got that understanding of what Pep wants, and I think that transpires and emanates through the rest of the players as well. So there's no panic about how he plays. He makes good decisions. If you have a look at him throughout again, he doesn't make many mistakes on the ball or off of the ball, and he makes, and that's an art, being able to be in the right place at the right time and make the right decision.
Yes, completely agree. And his work rate just is
ridiculous, isn't it?
Ridiculous. Brilliant question, brilliant question. Thank you so much. I mean, do keep sending them in. If I get a chance at half-time and full-time, I will ask the guests some more of them. Now, for the last 2 shows, we've been giving away an incredible prize. You may have been wondering why there is a pair of boots on the table for the whole show. Well, you have a chance to win these boots.
Watch MatchDay live to be in with a chance of winning my signed boots. All the best.
All the best to you too, Jack. Thank you very much. There are the said signed boots. So you can enter. I'm going to tell you the winner, and we're going to pick a winner during the game. So you just have a chance. You need to do it now, though. You've got 5 or 10 minutes. mancity.com/feed. You need to go to mancity.com/feed. And in there, you'll find out how you enter. It's nice and easy. We're going to announce the winner at full time. So take a little look at these boots. While I have a little cough, I apologise.
Do you know, we were talking about these boots. I mean, there's absolutely nothing to them, to be quite honest, with different our boots. But even in our day, if we'd have turned up in something like that, oh my dear, there'd have been, you'd have getting absolutely tortured off the players. You have to be a good player to wear something like that, and I think, well, Jack is. But I mean, the style on the boots nowadays, wow.
Were you a classic black and white boot?
I don't. I mean, obviously there was like white boots out. I mean, the coloured boots were out then. But I just think, for me personally, I was always one that just thought, stick with black. And then, you know, because if you have a bad game, if you make a mistake, people's going to go, it's the boots. Whereas, you know, nowadays you see, I mean, there's like all different colours now with the boots. But yeah, they're bright, them ones.
I was very black and white.
Yeah.
Very uncompromising in my footwear. I didn't want to be dazzled. I think the flashiest I got was Diodora when they had when they came out and they had different colours, stripes on them and everything. But that was about it. Then I went for the Mizuno because I had an extra stud at the bottom.
To kick people with.
Yeah.
An extra one to kick people with.
I didn't need to feel.
Can we put more studs in there?
Yeah. Now there's players, but they want to be able to feel the ball. I didn't.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, these boots, signed by Jack Grealish, mancity.com/feed if you'd like a chance to win them today. So we are less than 10 minutes away from kick-off now. You'll get your full commentary on the app with Alistair Mann and with Andy Morrison. If you're just joining us, the starting 11 is on your team, on your screen now. It is Edison, Akanji, Stones, Diaz, Ake, Rodri, Nunes, Kovacic, Silva, Foden and Haaland. That is your starting 11 today. Also, just FYI, on the bench, Grealish, Doku and KDB do make up part of the bench. So, 7 minutes till kick-off now. My nerves have started kicking in, Keith. Give us your general kind of feeling. What do you think is going to happen today?
I think it's going to be not a 6-1, but I still feel it's going to be 3.
Ooh, okay.
I think they'll be solid, and I think they get men behind the ball and they try and frustrate. But then as soon as one goal goes in, I think the game will open up a little bit. Then 3-0, comfortable, but not easy by any shape.
Steve, what do you think?
I will agree with the 3. That's what I was going to go with. Possibly 3-1. I think City win it. And again, as we've said earlier on in the show, I think that it'll be interesting to see how Bournemouth actually set up. I cannot see them being gung-ho. I think they'll be very sort of structured in how they are set up, making them themselves very difficult to break down. But I just think City's got enough to break them down. Hopefully there's a nice early goal for City. That changes the complexity of the game altogether.
3-0 you going
I'm going to
for?
go 3-1.
3-1. Were you 3-1, Keith?
3-0.
3-0. Yes, Keith. I want a clean sheet. That man
I'd like a clean sheet. I think they'll have chances, Bournemouth. So, you know, they might get one, but I think it's a comfortable win.
Right, there you go. The teams are in the tunnel. You can see them. I love that training jacket so much. So, Ruben Diaz leading the line today. He is captain. 5:30 kick-off. So, 6 minutes or less now till City take on Bournemouth to try and make up some of that 4-point gap, of course, that we have on Liverpool. Your commentary is available now on the Manchester City app, straight after us, Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison. Steve Howie, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Keith Gill, thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for joining us on today's Matchday Live. We will be back at half-time and at full-time, where hopefully we'll be talking about City sitting 1 point off the top of the table. Enjoy the game.
A very warm welcome to Bournemouth, the Vitality Stadium, officially the smallest capacity in the Premier League, but it doesn't want for atmosphere. It is one of those stadiums where the crowd seem right on top of the pitch. It's a tight, narrow